Hello, hello, hello. Gypsy Rider here. Hope everybody is doing okay. And welcome to another episode, another Motovlog. As I'm riding my Vulcan 900 named Gypsy. So today I'm just out for a ride. And I was thinking of, what can we talk about? What can we make this episode about? And I was thinking, because I've done it a few times myself, and that is, I have purchased motorcycles before. I've owned probably 6 or 7 motorcycles in my lifetime, and only one of them I bought brand new. That you're watching this video, you are also thinking about buying a motorcycle, a used one. If you want to buy a new motorcycle from a dealer, by all means, go ahead. Just know that it's just like buying a car. It depreciates quickly. But the advantages, of course, are that it's brand new. It's yours. Nobody's done anything to it as far as dropped it, anything like that. But also, it comes with all stock parts. So anybody that has purchased motorcycles before pretty much knows that, buying a new motorcycle, that's not the end of it. That's really when it all begins.
Good morning, my lords.
So not only do you have the big expense up front of the purchase, but then you're gonna accessorize your bike with all the things you want, and you customize it with all the things you want. And that can get pretty costly over time, that is for sure. So I am personally, and this whole video is about my opinions, my experiences, that in my opinion I have always enjoyed buying used motorcycles. Now there are some things that I look for when I buy a used motorcycle. The first question I have to answer is, okay, where do I want to buy my used motorcycle? I have a couple of different options here. I can A, go to a motorcycle dealer and buy a used motorcycle off their floor. Or B, I can buy a used motorcycle through a private sale, like a Facebook marketplace, or a friend of yours is selling it, or wherever, a Craigslist, wherever you find used motorcycles. So let's explore those two options a little more. Okay, so let's talk about buying a used motorcycle from a dealership. Well, what you get from a dealership is probably a motorcycle that has been at least looked at by a mechanic, even though, I'm not sure how accurate that statement really is, because they take these bikes in for trade. They're really supposed to look those things over, give it a really good inspection. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. Let's just assume that they do. So you have that little bit of peace of mind that somebody has looked at it. Maybe somebody in their shop has done an oil change, you know, give it a really, really good look over, and hopefully has found no problems with the bike. So that's the good thing about buying from a dealership. Now, what you have to realize is when you buy a used motorcycle, even from a dealership, or pay taxes on the full purchase price of the bike, you're also going to pay perhaps their dealer fees, tag, title, transfer, all those little fees that the dealers charge you that otherwise you perhaps wouldn't have paid. So I personally stay away typically from buying from dealers unless I need financing. Okay, buying a used motorcycle from a dealer, if you're in need of financing, can be a good thing because it's convenient, right? You go in, you pick the bike, they'll do the financing right there, you right out of there that day. Great. However, if you're looking to purchase a bike and pay cash, I personally would recommend you go through a private sale. I have purchased several motorcycles through Facebook Marketplace, and there's going to be a lot of people that find Facebook Marketplace sketchy, questionable, and I would have to agree with them. That's why I'm giving you my experiences in purchasing used motorcycles, and hopefully be able to help you out a little bit and what to look for and what to do when you go look at motorcycles. So let's say you found a bike that looks good on the pictures, the description sounds great. Let's just assume it's on Facebook Marketplace. You contact the seller. The first thing I do is, because I don't want to waste my time, I don't want to waste the seller's time, I send the seller a message, and I ask things like this: has the bike been garage kept? If the mileage isn't on there, how many miles are on the bike? Have the services been maintained and upkept according to the user manual? How much life do you think the tires have left on this bike? I want to find out as much as I can before I set up an appointment to go see this bike. Now keep in mind that all the things I've mentioned are going to cost you money if you have to do them. Okay? If the tires are no good and you got to buy a set of tires, you're going to be out several $100s to replace those tires. And there are ways to check them. And of course, we take the responses from the seller with a grain of salt. You know, we take them at face value. We don't know this person. Whether they tell us the truth, we don't know. I always like to also check who is the seller, right? You look at their profile. That's why I like Facebook Marketplace, because typically they have a Facebook profile. If they don't, you know, I'm already questioning it a little bit. If they have a profile that shows that all they've done on their profile is sell used stuff, that's a little sketchy for me, because ultimately, I'm looking for a person that's selling a motorcycle that has cared for their bike, that has loved their bike, right? Where I feel comfortable buying a bike from. So those are all the things I do up front. So let's say everything comes back good. He says, yeah, everything is great. Let's set up an appointment. Okay, so now we go and we view the bike we're trying to buy. Test riding it would be great. Honestly, I wouldn't buy a bike that I can't test ride, okay? Now, a lot of sellers will tell you, well, test riding is okay as long as you have the cash in hand. And I completely agree with that. I think it's reasonable. Give the seller the envelope with the cash. I said, here's the purchase price. In case I wreck it, I buy it. Okay, that's the chance I have to take. But I also don't want to buy a bike without test riding it, right? I want to make sure that brakes are okay, the engine brakes okay, the whatever it's got on it. It's got cruise control. I want to make sure all that works. And I feel obviously comfortable on the bike. So as I'm showing up to this appointment, before I, of course, ride the bike, I'll look it over. Okay? First thing I look at is just optics of the bike. And you can pretty much tell if a bike has been garage kept, has it been maintained well, are there scratches all over the, are there dents on the bike? You know, what is the overall appearance of the motorcycle? Now, I will tell you, I typically shy away from buying a used bike that has not been garage kept. And I'm saying that because of, if a bike is 10 years old and it's been sitting out in the elements, you know, you can expect the bike to show some age, right? Rust underneath, rust here and there, and it's not really what I'm looking for. You're okay with it? That's fine, because the price is good. I'm just letting you know what I'm looking for when I buy a used bike. So another thing I would look for is what extras does the bike have, right? What accessories have been put on aftermarket, because those are worth money. And typically when you install those on a bike, a lot of times you don't get them back on the back end when you sell your bike. So the buyer usually comes out ahead. So if a bike has new exhausts or upgraded grips, upgraded seats, all those things I look for, because ultimately I'd like to have those. But do I want to spend thousands of dollars to get all those things? Heck no. So if the used bike I'm looking at has those things already, that's a really added bonus, and I take that into consideration when it comes to having to replace tires maybe, or getting a service done, because again, that's money. And then the obvious thing is I look for mileage. Don't buy a bike that has super high miles on it. Honestly, I'm not even interested in buying a bike, and I know it sounds probably a little funny, but all my bikes that I purchased used have all been under 20,000 miles when I purchased them. You know, ideally I like to be in the 10 to 15,000 mile range, but again, it depends on your budget, right? And look at other bikes, what they sell for. Look at the mileage on those bikes and see what they sell for, right? So if you have a motorcycle that you're interested in, a specific model, and you see it online for, let's just say $10,000, and it has 50,000 miles on it. and you start looking around at other bikes, exact same thing, same year, and you see them at 20,000 miles or 15,000 miles. Look at the prices. You'll be surprised that the price tag really hasn't changed much. So if you're just, say, a little bit patient, and if you do your research, I guarantee you can find a bike with under 20,000 miles within the budget that you had set out for on that specific bike, because you probably already know a ballpark of what that bike is going to cost you. You know, if my budget is $6,000, I may have to spend another $500, but a bike has 30,000 less miles on it, then I'm going to do that. Okay, so just be smart when you purchase. And there's always a deal to be had out there. You know, if it doesn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. And if a bike doesn't work out, tell yourself it was meant to be. You were not meant to purchase that bike. All right? There's a greater power that always looks out for you. Now I want to look at the tires. That is one of my main things on a bike. Is what conditions are the tires in? And you can look at the tires, and you look at the wall to see if there has been any wear, tear, any cracks. Obviously, you can look at the tread level. You can do the penny trick. And also, on the tire, there is a 4-digit code that gives you the age of the tire, that gives you the week and the year that the tire was manufactured. And typically motorcycle tires are good for anywhere from 4 to 6 years, let's say. Okay? So if a motorcycle has very low miles, and you know it hasn't been really ridden all that much, and it has tires that have been, 3 years old, you can expect to get maybe another 3 years out of them. However, a bike with a lot of miles on it that's 3 years old and that's seen a lot of road, you may only get another 1.5 to 2 years out of them. So you have to make that call. Am I okay with having to put new tires on in 2 years? I probably would be. I would only not be okay with the fact if the bike needs new tires right away, unless I built that in to the price or it has been revealed to me up front. Now, I have asked the seller whether the bike has been serviced or the last time it has been serviced. I will tell you that typically, I don't care what they say. Most of them will tell you, yeah, everything has been done. Every 3,000 miles, I've done a oil change, this and that, and I had it here and there. Unless they have invoices or the latest invoice of when a complete service was done that shows me exactly the name of the dealership, all the things they've done, and the date. If they don't have that, I don't really care what they say. After the purchase of the bike, one of the first things I'm gonna do is get a full service done. And a full service on a bike can run you anywhere from $200 to $400. So know that going into purchasing a used bike. So add that right on top of the purchase price, okay? Well, and one last thought. When buying a motorcycle, new or used, make sure you keep a little money left over for some good rain gear. All right, guys, I hope this video has helped you out in some ways. If you have any comments, questions, please leave them in the comment section for me below. And please consider subscribing to this channel. And also come and visit me on Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, I want you guys to be safe, stay safe, and ride safe. And good luck in purchasing the right bike for you. Take care.